look, I told those guys, this may have been all we shot. Do I think that? No. Do I believe that? No. However, I know how hard it is to get here. I'm well aware. And it's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year than it was this year. And if we don't have the same hunger and the same work, then we got no shot of getting back here.
The Detroit Lions had the best season in franchise history this year. And although it ended in heartbreak, I'm fairly optimistic this team is here to stay. And we could see them back in the NFC Championship game as soon as next year. Now, I've been a pretty strong advocate of this Lions team ever since they brought in Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes to run their operation. I made a video in June 2022 basically reviewing the entire Lions roster and the direction they were headed in. So the success that they've had in 2023 didn't really surprise me. I think it was more so the timing and how quickly they actually found that success. And I think the biggest reason for that is their 2023 NFL draft, led by their general manager, Brad Holmes. Talk about a generational draft. The Lions 23 class might go down as one of the best in recent memory. And it's funny to look back now and see all the people who were criticizing the Lions for some of these picks early last year. Their first selection came with the 12th overall pick after trading down from number 6, the last first round pick from the Matthew Stafford trade. And they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. At this time, tons of quote unquote draft experts were flaming the Lions and asking, why would you take the second running back off the board with the 12th pick? The reason? Oh, maybe because he's an Alvin Kamara clone and had 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns as a rookie in a split backfield with David Montgomery. The next selection came 6 picks later, linebacker Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Again, due to positional value, this pick was knocked pretty heavily, but the Lions knew what they were getting, a 6'5", 243-pound beast in the middle of their defense, and Campbell really came on late in the season, ending with 95 tackles, 5 TFLs, and 2 sacks. So their 2 first-round picks were great, but what if I told you could argue that their 2 second-round picks were even better? With the extra second they picked up and trading down with the Cardinals, they selected Sam Laporta, another Iowa product, and oh my goodness, Laporta went on to have one of the best rookie seasons for a tight end in NFL history. 86 catches, 889 yards, and 10 touchdowns, also being elected to the Pro Bowl. If I'm honest, I was a bit wary of the TJ Hawkinson trade when it went down, but it's looking like the Lions might have gotten an even better tight end while resetting the financial clock. And their final second-round pick was safety Brian Branch, who should have been long gone by pick 45, but once again, due to positional value, he dropped like a rock in the draft, and the Lions said thank you very much and picked up one of the best secondary players in the entire class halfway through the second. Branch went on to have a great rookie season as well, 3 interceptions, 74 tackles, and 7 TFLs, and he looks like yet another Pro Bowl player. So when you hit on 4 draft picks like the Lions did and they're able to come in and produce atop their position right away, you can begin to understand how this team improved so much from 9 wins last season to 12 wins in 2023. But although they added multiple young studs to the roster, the foundation for this team had been built years prior, again, really all through the draft. The very first year of the Campbell-Holmes regime, they hit on multiple draft picks. Penei Sewell in the first round, who's one of the best tackles in football. Aleem McNeil, who's a vital piece to their defense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best wide receivers in the game in the 4th round. And then another starter at linebacker in Derek Barnes. You go to 2022, and it's Aiden Hutchinson, it's Jameson Williams, it's Kirby Joseph, it's James Houston. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous when you look at the hit rate of this organization the past few years. Now, something else in terms of roster construction I have to mention is the Stafford for Goff trade. When the Lions were open to trading away their best quarterback in franchise history, they were presented with 2 offers, one from the 49ers and one from the Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers offered Jimmy G and 2 first-round picks, and the Rams offered Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks. So it was the exact same package. It came down to which quarterback the organization preferred, and that was Jared Goff. I don't think we talk about this enough and how important of a decision this was and what the Lions did to restore confidence in Goff and really rebuild him as a player. Goff obviously wasn't a scrub when he was with the Rams. They brought in Sean McVay after his rookie season and he really took off. He looked exactly like you would expect from the #1 overall pick. He had 2 brilliant years under McVay, even bringing the Rams to a Super Bowl in 2018. But after struggling in that game against the New England Patriots, only scoring 3 points, McVay basically gave up on him. You fast forward 2 years and the Rams shipped him out of town. And regardless what your job is or how good of a player you are, when someone so blatantly gives up on you, that's gonna have an effect. So what Goff has done since joining Detroit and really getting his career back on track is really awesome to see. He debatably had his best season as a pro this year, throwing for 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and I personally think he has comfortably cemented himself as a top 10 quarterback. He's entering the last year of his contract in 2024, so I'm gonna be fascinated to see how the contract talks go. Goff is still only 30 years old, which is relatively young for a quarterback, so he's definitely gonna be in line for a 4 to 5 year deal. I'm just more interested to see see how much money he's going to get a year. Goff has been one of the best bargain contracts if you take into account his production the last few seasons. The quarterback contracts keep growing exponentially. Now you have guys making around 45 to 50 million a season. I wonder if Detroit would offer that to him, or if it's more a 30, 35 million dollars a year kind of deal. And according to a report from NFL Network, the Lions are soon expected to begin contract negotiations with Goff. They're, quote, hoping for a new deal that makes sense for all parties. And when asked about his future with the team, Goff said, "I love Detroit. I've loved my time there and hope to continue to play there, but ultimately not my decision. It's been a lot of fun and I've really enjoyed it." But in terms of this offseason, I was shocked to see the Lions still have $61 million in cap room and can even generate more with a potential Jared Goff extension, as he's the highest cap hit on the team currently. But all that means is they're going to be spenders come March and might be able to get 2 to 3 high-priced free agents. Brad Holmes will have to decide on a couple of his own players though, headlined by 2 starting offensive linemen, Graham Glasgow and Jonah Jackson, and then on defense, safety CJ Gardner-Johnson. But most of their talent is cheap and on the books for next year, and that'll allow them to buy some very intriguing veterans to help them get over the hump. Some players that I think could help are Chris Jones, Daniel Hunter, or Leonard Williams, just another pass rusher to bolster up their defensive line to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. There's also a couple of corners that I like, Adoree Jackson, Kendall Fuller, or even Stephon Gilmore. Any of those players could provide some more juice to their defense, which they desperately need some reinforcements in the back end. But my overall point is that the Lions have a rare chance to get even better after making the NFC Championship game before the draft even begins. Most of the time, teams making it that far have some cap issues. They're not able to bring back the entire team or even able to improve. The Lions are in a fascinating spot, and with 4 more premium picks in the draft, a GM like Brad Holmes, who has been on fire picking players, there's also a good chance the Lions can add another 2 impact starters to their roster. So in terms of their overall team, I believe it's highly likely that the Lions are more talented than they were last year. And when you combine the fact that both of their coordinators are staying put, and Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator and Aaron Glenn as their defensive coordinator, it really makes Detroit a scary team next year. I was sure after the resurgence Jared Goff has had and how good their offense has been since Ben Johnson took over that he was a lock to be a head coach of some team this offseason. But as the job started dwindling out and Johnson still being happy to just be a coordinator, he's coming back for another season. And that's huge for the camaraderie of the offense and the continued development of a lot of the young players. But looking beyond the offseason and when they're actually going to be on the field, the Lions will try and do something they've never done in franchise history: win the NFC North Division title in back-to-back seasons. I think it's really going to be a 2-team race as the Vikings look headed for a mini reset with Kirk Cousins likely gone. The Bears are still in rebuild mode with a new quarterback about to be drafted, probably Caleb Williams. So that leaves us with the Lions and the Packers. And interesting enough, I feel like Green Bay is where the Lions were a couple of seasons ago, just with so many young players who overachieved. But Detroit will have the more talented roster and definitely be favored to win the North before the season begins. The conference as a whole, I don't see changing very much. The other top teams will still be San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Dallas. We've already seen the Lions go blow for blow with them, so I really think this Detroit team is here to stay with their roster talent, their coaching, and honestly just being one of the best organizations now in football. I do believe it's a matter of time when, not if, this team can finally host the Lombardi Trophy. But I want to know what you guys think about the Detroit Lions and the future of this team. Do you agree with me and think they're for real and here to stay? Or do you think this season was just some sort of magical run? But subscribe to the channel if you are new. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.